I was very sorry to hear about the passing of my friend and Seminole leader, Joe Dan Osceola, June 9th. I heard that he died after a fall at his home in South Florida. Joe Dan was 82 years old. More than a half century ago, he was elected president of the Seminole Tribe of Florida, to this day the youngest to ever hold that office. The Seminole Tribe was only officially 10 years old at that time, and Joe Dan was the right man for that job. Born into the Panther Clan out in the Everglades on December 20th, 1936, near a logging camp named Miles City, about 30 to 40 miles east of Everglades City, near the present-day road sign for Ochapi on the Tamiami Trail. He was among the first Florida Indians to actually attend school, one of the first to make it all the way through high school. He excelled in football, basketball, and track, and was the first of his tribe to graduate from college, Georgetown College in Kentucky, turning down an offer along the way from Florida State University, which years later bestowed upon him an honorary doctorate degree. After graduating, Joe Dan moved onto the Seminoles Brighton Reservation near Lake Okeechobee and worked with the federal government's Bureau of Indian Affairs. After his election to president, he moved to the tribal headquarters town, Hollywood, to join up with newly elected Chairman Betty Mae Jumper, jump-starting the culture of business prosperity that has marked the Seminole Tribe of Florida throughout its history as a federally recognized tribe. Along the way, he and Chairman Jumper helped form the United South and Eastern Tribes, USET, one of the most successful native associations in American Indian country. He also directed the expansion of the Seminole cattle industry into one of the nation's largest and the tribe's first great successful economic venture. In the early 70s, when the city of Seminole formed, he traveled to Pinellas County and participated in ceremonies officially naming the town Seminole. He donated Indian jackets and a wooden ladle to the town, which keeps them on display in their little museum. He returned several times to ride in their annual powwow parade. One of the city cultural organizers, Sandy Holloway, the mother of Kristen Holloway, the flute player from Gypsy Wind, and Kevin Holloway, the mandolinist from the Cornfused Band, was greatly saddened when I called to tell her about Joe Dan's passing. He was very important for this town, she said. He gave us a direct connection to the Seminole Indians. Joe Dan was perhaps best known for his wonderful Seminole Indian clothing and craft store, Ann Hinga, located at the corner of Sterling Road and US 441, right in the heart of the Hollywood Reservation. It still stands today, filled with a remarkable collection of authentic Seminole culture, a veritable museum in itself. In his later years, when I met Joe Dan, Chief Billy had assigned him the job of tribal ambassador. He traveled to other reservations, even to Europe and throughout the Caribbean, representing the Seminoles. On one trip, I even accompanied him to Vienna, where the chairman had sent us to look into some sort of American Indian world tourist attraction that was being built there. I guess he had been contacted by this organization, which was trying to acquire items from various American Indian tribes for displays at their attraction. We spent almost 2 weeks scouting out the area and meeting the, quote, Indians who were jumping around in strange dances and manning crude vendor tables with German-made American Indian crafts. It was all in one corner of a giant grassy field. During our time there, we traveled to a little town named Radebeul in Germany to visit the Karl May Museum. Karl May was a German author in the early 1800s who wrote novels set in the American West, featuring cowboys and Indians. Germany's most famous author, his books are required reading in German schools. Joe Dan marveled at his gigantic collection of American Indian artifacts and culture in that museum, including a wall filled with human scalps, all from cowboys and soldiers who were victims of Indian uprisings, purchased by May from vendors who had, quote, removed them from battlefields. Very creepy. Joe Dan and I laughed about that trip for years afterwards. I had not seen him very much in the last few years, but talked to him often on the phone, and he would always fill me in on the tribal news and politics. But just like the Florida landscape, the animals, and original old Florida culture, I mourn the passing of Joe Dan Osceola. Born in a chickie way out in the glades, far from roads and medicine, except that provided by the medicine man, he grew up to be the first great leader of the Florida Seminoles and was instrumental in improving their lot in life. Like leaders James Billy and Betty Mae Jumper and medicine man Bobby Henry, Joe Dan was a preservationist. His life was spent preserving Seminole culture. Few people know that he also tried his hand at singer-songwriting. Listen to his song about Josie Billy, the Seminole medicine man. Shonabish, Joe Dan.
In a cypress swamp in the Everglades, where the sawgrass grows, there's an Indian village hidden where the white man never goes. The lonely swamp is where he Seminole medicine man, the Seminole medicine man. When he hears the sound of the cypress trees talking every day, sharing all their secrets with the wind, he knows each word they say. The sawgrass and the willow trees bow to his command. They all know Josie Billy is the Seminole medicine man, the Seminole medicine man. He can hear the talk of the creatures there when the day is through. Then he whispers softly to each one about the things they do. The rattlesnake, the grizzly bear, they can understand and talk to Josie Billy. He's the Seminole medicine man, the Seminole medicine man. All the Indians there in the Everglades feel his tender care. Anytime they need his helping hand, they know he's waiting there. The one man in the Everglades, always in demand. They call him Josie Billy. He's the Seminole medicine man, the Seminole medicine man, the Seminole medicine man.
Well, if you like that song, I'll play the other side of the 45 that Joe Dan put out in the 60s. And this is another song that he wrote called Seminole.
On the west, there's the waters of the Gulf of Mexico. On the eastern shore, the ocean's waters roll. It's a tropic land, and before the white man came, it belonged to the Florida Seminoles. On the day that it started, only Indians owned the land. Then the white man came and wanted to control all the eastern shore, and they soon moved to the west through the lands of the Florida Seminoles. Seminole, 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 Seminole. He's the unconquered Florida Seminole. There were all kinds of treaties, but the Indians owned the land, which they'd rather have than all the white man's gold. They were asked to move, but the prairie lands out west were like death to the Florida Seminoles. All the chiefs held a meeting till the council fires burned low, and they swore the Indians' homeland they would hold. With the white man's guns and the Indians' tomahawk, it was war for the Florida Seminole. Seminole, 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 Seminole. He's the unconquered Florida Seminole. Through the swamps and the highlands, they were fought for many years. Just how many died has never yet been told.